there, my name is Dr. Marissa May. In this video, we're going to be looking at solving multi-step inequalities. Now, just a couple of reminders before we jump into some example problems is that when we see less than or greater than, that means we'll use an open circle on the graph. If we see a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal to, that means we're going to use a closed circle when we get ready to graph. So let's dive into a couple of examples here. All right, we're going to simplify our inequality first, and means we're going to get all the variables on one side of the equation and we'll isolate the variable. I do have a reminder here at the top that our flip rule says that if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the inequality. We'll keep that in mind as we work through our example. So let's start with our example here. I notice that I have a number in front of a parentheses, so I'm going to distribute that -5 there. So when I distribute, I multiply. So -5 times x will give me -5x. -5 times 1 will give me -5. And then I have, oops, not, I'm into the equals, doing equations. I'm going to put a less than there, less than -3x plus 1. Okay. Now I've got to get all the variables on one side. So I'm going to take this -3x and I'm going to do the opposite, which is to add a positive 3x. You'll notice that I lined it up right underneath my -5x because those are like terms. Okay, let's see what that leaves us with. -5x plus 3x gives me -2x. Of course, I've got my -5 is less than. Now, -3x plus 3x, those cancel out, leaving me with a 1 there on the right side. Now, if we can jump up here and just have a little bit more room, I'm just going to rewrite that inequality over here so we can finish. Now we need to get that x all by itself. So I'm going to do the opposite of subtracting 5. The opposite of subtracting 5 is to add 5, and I'm doing that to both sides of the inequality. On the left, that leaves me with the -2x because -5 plus 5 cancel each other out is less than 6. Now we're ready to get rid of that multiplying by -2. So we're going to divide both sides by -2. Now remember, flip rule says when we multiply or divide by a negative number, we've got to flip the inequality. So now I have x is greater than -3. That's important. We have to make sure we flip that inequality. Okay, so now I'm ready to graph. I'm going to go to -3 on my number line, and I'm going to use an open circle. Remember, anytime it's less than or greater than, without the equal to part, I'm using an open circle. And now I'm doing x is greater than -3. Now notice when I look at that greater than sign, do you see which direction it is pointing? It's pointing to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and shade to the right here. I want numbers that are greater than -3, numbers that are bigger than -3. All right, let's take a look at one more example. All right, friends. So we are ready to go ahead and take a look at example 2. Now, in example 2, I've got a couple of parentheses going on. So I'm going to have to distribute not only the -5 to the first parentheses, but I want you to see I'm going to distribute a -2 to the second parentheses. Did you catch that? I'm distributing a -2, not just a 2. You may ask yourself, okay, Dr. May, how do you know that you're supposed to distribute a -2? Well, I want you to think about changing this subtraction to an addition and changing the sign of the next number. So let me say that again. You can change the subtraction to addition as long as you change the sign of the next number. Okay, so let's distribute. We'll distribute the -5 first. So -5 times k gives me -5k. -5 times 4 gives me -20. And now I'm going to distribute the -2. -2 times k gives me -2k. -2 times 6 gives me -12, and that's greater than 3. All right, good work on the distributing. That's a difficult step. We have to be careful and take our time. All right, now let's collect like terms. What do I mean by like terms? Same variable, same exponent. Well, look at the terms that have a k in them. negative 5k, negative 2k. If I join those together, I'll get negative 7k. All right, now let's do the terms that don't have a variable with them. That would be the negative 20 and the negative 12. So if I add negative 20 and negative 12, it gives me negative 32. If you are one, you're just like, Dr. May, I'm not so great with my negatives. That's okay, friends. I put the link to the Desmos graphing calculator in the description here. I want you to bookmark it because it's going to help you as you're working through some of those negative things. And I want you to be able to have that free, great tool. So check out that link below. All right, I'm going to jump up here on the right, just rewriting that inequality again so I have more space. And now we're trying to get the k by itself. So we have to do the opposite of subtracting 32. The opposite of subtracting 32 is to add 32. Notice I did it to both sides of the inequality. That's important. So that leaves me with negative 7k. Notice that the negative 32 plus 32 cancel each other out, and that's greater than 35. All right, friends, one step left. We have to get rid of the multiplying by negative 7. So we're going to do that by doing the opposite of multiplying by negative 7. That opposite of multiplying by negative 7 is to divide by negative 7. Notice then negative 7 divided by negative 7 gives me 1k, and we did divide by a negative number, so I've got to flip that inequality. 35 divided by negative 7 is negative 5. All right. So now I'm ready to go on my number line to negative 5 because it's just a less than, doesn't have the equal to underneath it. You know we're going to just leave that as an open circle. And then notice that inequality is pointing to the left. So that means I'm going to be shading to the left as well. So I'm shading this portion of the number line. All right, friends, they call these multi-step inequalities for a reason because it took us multiple steps. We've seen distributing, we've seen collecting like terms, we've seen moving all the variables to one side. We've also done the opposite to both sides. I hope you have some great notes after watching the video today. Go back through. If you miss some key parts, make sure your notes are really good before you try some practice problems. All right, my friends, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Hum.